Well, good morning, folks. My name is Tim Yale, I'm a meteorologist, and we have the heavy rainfall continuing, which is the big story in the next several days here. And we see what I have here is the radar overlaid with the infrared satellite loop, right? So we kind of have a lull in the action on most of the southeast. If you see up to the northeast, there's ongoing showers and just rainy weather. In addition, up here in the parts of the Midwest and down to Alabama, Mississippi, and large clusters of storms just offshore here, just in Mexico, right? And offshore here, the Gulf Coast near New Orleans. We'll have to see whether or not this comes on shore today. We have an MCS type feature move through the flow, which could bring severe weather to the southeast this morning. Now, taking the MRS data, the radar data off, you can see the convection here firing. Very intense convection here out in the Gulf. All right, hope you're not trying to go out there boating today. It's not going to be fun if you do. The Eastern Gulf, not too bad, right? But you can see the convection here and some showers to the west here in parts of northwestern Texas. And if you go back out to the northwest here, you see this system starting to come on shore here, which is going to bring unsettled weather to the northwest coast in the coming days. Well, here's your excessive rainfall for today. We have a pretty high risk, well, a slight risk of excessive rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance all the way around from the Gulf Coast here, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and through north central Georgia, parts of central Georgia, just to the north of Macon here, into the Atlanta proper area, where storms may train over the same area. We could have flooding anywhere in this area. 15% chance means 15% chance of exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a given location. We also have the marginal risk going all the way down to central Florida and towards Cape Coral. In addition, we have a slight risk up here towards Morgantown, towards Pittsburgh, PA, down to Lexington, Kentucky, Charleston, West Virginia, and just to the south of Columbus, Ohio, and Cincinnati as well. And you have a marginal risk all the way up to parts of southwestern Pennsylvania, up towards Mansfield, and through parts of West Virginia, all the way down into the Charlotte area, North Carolina, Raleigh, Columbia. The only exceptions along the southeast coast here, Goose Creek, Savannah, and the east coast of Florida. So quite an impactful day today with these heavy rainfall continuing for the southeast and parts of mid-Atlantic and parts of the Ohio Valley today. So here's your severe weather outlook for today, okay? So we have a large area of thunderstorms. You see almost 3/4 of the United States has a chance for thunderstorms, with the exception of Missouri here, parts of Oklahoma, and the west here. Even Arizona has a chance of thunderstorms all the way down to Florida. We have a marginal risk of severe weather also through parts of Kansas here, western Kansas through Garden City, Liberal, Hayes, Grand Island, Nebraska, up to Sioux City, Iowa, just to the south of Marshall, Minnesota, and a small portion of southeastern South Dakota. We also have a severe risk down here in parts of south central Georgia, southeast Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle today. So as what's pretty common here, tornado risk is less than 2% here in Georgia. But up here in the northern mode, we have a 2% chance of tornado near Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Grand Island. Excuse me. And within this 5% risk of hail, we have a SIG 1 hatching, which means we could have 2-inch hail here today, although the risk to coverage is going to be low, and less than 2% or less than 5% here in Georgia for that. So you can see the threat in Georgia, what it's driven by is winds today. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible in these storms that fire and move through the area today, as well as in the northern mode, 5% risk of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So severe risk continues, but not as prevalent, right? So that's good. And this looks like a rinse and repeat forecast, doesn't it? We still have There's 15% risk of excessive rainfall tomorrow, covering a good portion of the southeast here, going through Macon, Georgia now, up towards parts of South Carolina, into parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, westward towards Decatur, just covering most of Alabama here and parts of Mississippi as well, with a larger marginal risk all the way along the Gulf Coast and broadly just south of the Mason-Dixon line here up to Virginia Beach. Virginia is in it, Nashville, just south of Memphis, and just generally cuts through central Louisiana back towards Houston, Texas. Again, excessive rainfall outlook, the 15% and 5% risk means the values of a flood, right? So say you exceed flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a given location, there's a 15% chance tomorrow, as of right now, that we could exceed that. So although not high, the probabilities are there. So be safe, turn around, don't drown, don't drive through flooded roadways. It'll likely clear and after a couple hours once the rainfall passes. So don't don't risk your life by trying to go through it. Not worth it. As far as tomorrow's severe risk, we don't have anything outlined of the Storm Prediction Center right now. However, there's a large coverage area for storms, okay? Even along the northwest coast, and we have a system moving on shore here, which I'll talk about. Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. Much of the Intermountain West and the northern high plains, with the exception of parts of North Dakota here, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan could have storms, and a good portion, all the southeast, deep south, with the exception of one portion of Texas, parts of Oklahoma and Missouri. But you see what all the mid-Atlantic states and parts of Mississippi Valley. So quite a wide area for thunderstorms tomorrow. So going into Tuesday, we return with some probabilities for severe weather in parts of southern Texas. You have 15% chance, overall chance of severe weather within 25 miles of a given location, all the way up to Midland down to the Mexican border, and a 5% chance here in surrounding areas. Also up here in parts of Montana, we have a 5% risk of severe weather as well as the system moves on shore here. To add insult to injury, even for Tuesday here, we return to a slight risk of flooding in Dallas, in the southern Texas here in San Antonio, Abilene, Nuevo Laredo, areas where they've had heavy rainfall the past several days, getting a break for a day or two here. But again, we return to this threat with a marginal risk of excessive rainfall going to Mexico here as well. Now going to the east, we still have this potential for heavy rainfall and flooding impacting the Atlanta metro and some big cities here, Birmingham, Montgomery, down towards New Orleans, right? And a larger marginal risk of heavy rainfall going generally through Albany, Georgia, towards Columbia, South Carolina, Virginia Beach, Charleston, West Virginia, Louisville, Kentucky, Springfield, Missouri, all the way back towards Oklahoma City here, Greenville, Mississippi, covering most of the state of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia here. So, and all these other states. So just this rain, this will not stop here. We went from a drought to now we're getting rain every day. But the deep south here, right on the coastline, is the ones who need it the most. And I don't think they'll be getting as much as we really need down here. So be mindful of your surroundings. Again, turn around, don't drown. Moving to Wednesday, the flooding threat moves further to the west here and stays in the north in the mid-Atlantic and shifts back down to the Houston, Texas area where it's been the past several days. Like I said, getting a break for a few days and ramping back up here. So likely the flash flood criteria is pretty low down here, 15% chance generally in parts of southeastern Texas, so southwestern Louisiana. A larger marginal risk going through Nuevo Laredo, Abilene, Texas, through Oklahoma City, Cape Girardeau, up towards parts of Indiana, Kentucky here, West Virginia, Virginia towards Virginia Beach, once again, parts of North Carolina, just to the north of Charlotte, through all of Tennessee and parts of Alabama, roughly through Birmingham, down just to the east of New Orleans here, Mobile, Alabama also. So continue with this threat for the foreseeable future. Moving on to day 5, which is Thursday, the flood risk moves further to the east and to the north here. Now you have a flood risk right on the east coast of Florida here, generally from just Miami through West Palm Beach up to Port St. Lucie. Let me zoom this back in. And this marginal risk going through Houston, Texas, New Orleans, through parts of central Alabama, parts of western Tennessee here, a small portion of Kentucky up towards Cedar Rapids, Iowa, down to ports of southeastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, and like I said, eastern Texas. So the flooding threat continues for these areas with persistent heavy rainfall. We'll get a little bit of a break in the southeast. So what's the mid-level flow look like in the next 7 days or so? This is through the second. This is a loop of the 500 millibar flow and vorticity analysis. All right, and it's a pretty good representation of the atmosphere here. You can see to start with, this trough is up here, digs down, cuts off almost down here, and parts of the desert southwest, and you have your mid-level high. Let's stop this real quick. Stop this loop. All right. Excuse me. You see, initially comes on shore here into tomorrow, bringing unsettled weather to the northwest coast. And you see what looks like a mid-level ridge developing this way. The flow maintained from northwest to southeast here. Kind of a southerly, well, northerly flow maintained up here, right? And more of a southerly flow this way. High pressure offshore here, right? And you have enhanced flow also with a subtropical jet down in this area, okay? And, I hate to say El Nino all the time, but this is kind of El Nino-ish, like with this persistent enhanced flow here, wind shear in the atmosphere. And up to the north here, you see this system waiting offshore here. This is on Tuesday, okay? This one moves on shore. A persistent southerly flow, some enhanced flow here as well. All right, heavy rainfall potential here. Now, let's move through time a little bit more with this. Moving into Wednesday. We talked about this mid-level feature, and you see the enhanced flow right along the California coast here and on the eastern side of this as well. So could we get severe weather somewhere in this area? Possibly, right? We'll have to see if we get enough moisture here, which is hard to do, right? But given the higher terrain and things like that, very possible here. And we maintain this broad southerly flow that it continues to bring moisture all the way up this way, right? And then we're going to have really hot temperatures focused in this area. And I'll go over the temperatures and stuff like that later on. And on the western side of this, some enhancement in the flow as well. We could get some severe weather potential in this area, I would say. Kind of a weird pattern. If we're able to get some moisture that's drawn up this way, forced into the higher terrain here, and looks like maybe another mid-level. Here's your trough axis, looks like, right? One of them, okay? So we'll see. I'm going out to Colorado tomorrow. So I'm hopeful that we could see something here. But this is Wednesday, all right? And that bowling ball just hangs out here, gets cut off. See, the main flow is up to the north here, right? Way up here. Diving down into the northeast. You still maintain this broad southerly flow here and up this way, right? And then up this way. So there's broad, large scale ridging, kind of tilted this way, okay? Kind of a weird pattern. All right, general trough down here as well. Okay, this is Wednesday. Let's move this forward in time a little more. That's as far as it goes. All right. So resuming where I left off on the 28th, you can see the northerly flow established up here, and in the Plymouth area where my brother's going to be, looks to be nasty, at least the few days prior, right? Northerly flow, mid-level features moving through there. Now, let's see if we can get an idea of what's going to happen to this mid-level system down here out west. Fills in and finally gets caught up in the flow to the west of it. Some enhancement here as this mid-level feature swings through in the northeast, and the broad troughiness in the southeast here continues, right? So I think we're still going to be getting unsettled weather down here. See general trough ridging up this way, right? And low pressure here. So very amplified pattern. And you still have some remnant southerly, some troughiness here, and this southerly flow going all the way up this way. So we could get some moisture return here. We'll have to see how that pans out. And the pattern changes somewhat here as we get towards the 31st, towards the weekend. More of a westerly flow here in the southeast, maybe remnant trough into Florida with a trough out west, but the high pressure is still maintained way up to the north here. So in the central U.S. and up to the northern U.S. likely to be very hot, okay? But Pacific Northwest and parts of California and the Northwest quarter here, likely, trough coming through here as well, right? Just a pretty interesting flow pattern here. So let's run this to the end of where this goes. And that's it through the first. So that's where I'm going to end that. But you see the overall flow pattern here. Persistent trough on the east coast with this mid-level feature moving through. Another trough out west with mid-level ridging all the way up into the northern high plains, central plains, and troughiness persisting for quite a while in the southeast. And maybe more of a zonal flow as we get towards the end of the period into next weekend. So moving on to the Climate Prediction Center, U.S. temp precip outlooks, right? So this is a 6 to 10 day outlook. You can see where the highest potential for heavier rainfall is, or above normal chances of rainfall here. Generally in the desert southwest and the Texas and in parts of Georgia and Florida. Generally drier than normal conditions up into the Midwest here and Northeast. Moving on a little bit further here, wet conditions look like they're going to persist through the 2-week period in the desert Southwest, centered in New Mexico and Texas and southern Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, all the way up to Wyoming. Drier than normal conditions in the Ohio Valley, Midwest, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and along the West Coast. So going a little bit further out, the monthly, trending below normal for precip chances in the southeast, the desert southwest, and in the northwest corridor here. Now moving on to temperatures, hotter than normal. Looks like a really high probability of it being hotter than normal up here in the northern high plains in the short term, 6 to 10 days, right? Short term meaning past 5 days. Cooler than normal due to cloud cover, and then just persistent cloud cover will lead to cooler than normal temperatures, with the exception of southern Florida, and we've seen that, how hot it's been down here, and we know that ridge is spiking up to the north here. So I'm assuming we're going to continue this, right? You can see the troughing, persistent troughing in the southeast, deep south, keeps the temperatures below normal, exception of Florida here, and the northern to the U.S. still going to be much above. I think this doesn't say it's much below normal. It's more about the certainty of it being above normal here is pretty high, especially in the northern high plains and parts of the northern Intermountain West region. Now moving on to a monthly outlook. Quite a large area here of looking like the potential for above normal temperatures, right? But this is more of a broad outlook with the other areas here equal chances. So we'll see how this plays out in a couple of days, but the overall trend is for below normal temps here in the deep south and the southeast for the next 2 weeks, warming up to the north here. Then we go back and review the precip outlook here. Unsettled weather in the south and the parts of the central U.S., the western U.S., and in the southern U.S. here. And that pattern kind of persists here into the end of the 2-week period. So we really need the rain down here, so I think this is a good thing. Now, if we're looking at the more short-term 3 to 7 day U.S. hazards outlook, mostly consisting of heavy rain potential starting on the 26th, which is Wednesday in Texas, moves further east to 26th to the 30th here, through parts of the deep south and southeast, and the 26th to the 28th here in parts of mid-Atlantic and Tennessee Valley and parts of the Mississippi Valley as well, with some high wind potential out west here in California and Alaska, looking to have some heavy precip and high winds as well during that period. So that just solidifies my position on how much the unsettled weather will continue here in the deep south and southeast and parts of mid-Atlantic in the coming days. That's all I got for today, guys. If you wanted to get into the Memorial Day forecast, I have another video I posted yesterday that outlines the next, through Monday. This is more of a overall long-range forecast and what to expect over the next week. Appreciate y'all watching. Take care. Have a blessed day.